I told myself it was only a knock. Not a trick, not a trap, just a knock dressed in humility. The coat was older than I was pretending to be, its lining thin enough to justify the shiver. I rehearsed nothing. The truth, after all, is loud when you let it be. I needed quiet. The house had the posture of a place that had learned order, trimmed hedges, a welcome mat that had seen better optimism, a porch light that came on before dusk like a rule enforced early. I stood close enough to feel the heat leaking through the door. When it opened, it was only a crack. The oldest daughter's face filled the seam, alert, appraising. She listened as one listens for a warranty clause. I asked for help in a voice that stayed careful, unassuming. She didn't look past my shoulder. She didn't ask how long I'd been standing there. "What can't?" she said, with the soft authority of someone who had practiced saying no without guilt. There was a reason, framed as policy, and the door closed on it. The latch found its place like it had been waiting. I stayed a moment longer than dignity would recommend, long enough to notice the porch light flicker as if it had opinions. The son came next. He moved fast as if speed could simplify. He handed me a folded bill and the idea that the exchange was complete. $50, the exact amount that says I helped, don't ask again. He didn't meet my eyes and I didn't ask him to. Mercy when transactional is allergic to witness. Then the youngest son arrived, later than the others, his tie loosened, his shoulders sloped with the particular tiredness that belongs to classrooms and budgets. He asked if I was cold. He didn't ask why I was there. The question he chose told me what he valued. The daughter-in-law noticed my hands before my story. She pulled a chair without ceremony, reheated soup that had already lived one life, set a spoon where my fingers could find it. Hospitality, when it's real, is logistical. It solves the nearest problem first. That night, I slept on the couch with a blanket that smelled like detergent and weekends. The house breathed around me. I lay awake, counting the costs of what I was doing. Pretending poverty has a sharp edge. It can wound the person holding it. But there are truths that only show themselves when you remove the cushions. In the dark, I remembered all the small assumptions that had accreted over years, that care would be automatic, that blood would outrank inconvenience, that past generosity created future obligations. Those assumptions were comfortable. They were also wrong. Morning arrived without announcement. The kitchen light clicked on. Coffee brewed. The youngest son moved quietly, as if quiet were a form of respect. The daughter-in-law left a notebook on the table, already open, a pen aligned with its spine. Preparation masquerading as kindness. By the time the son reached the front windows, shoes were missing from the rack. The note on the counter was brief enough to be efficient, polite enough to be defensible. Errands, meetings, we'll talk later. Absence is a language everyone speaks fluently. At 9, a county vehicle stopped at the curb. No sirens, no urgency, just a presence that changes the temperature of a room. The badge was shown politely, the way professionals do when they expect cooperation. Paperwork came next, crisp and unembellished. I watched the youngest son listen as roles were clarified. Guardianship, access schedules, care plans. Not punishments, processes. The rules everyone had invoked in my absence were now visible, evenly applied. Authority, when it intervenes cleanly, doesn't raise its voice. There was a moment, brief, unmistakable, when control shifted. It wasn't dramatic, it was administrative. Decisions moved from preference to policy. Timelines replaced intentions. No one was scolded, no one needed to be. The daughter-in-law took notes. The youngest son asked one question about accommodations and wrote down the answer. Their steadiness held the room. When the officer left, the house felt larger and quieter. I folded the blanket. I thanked them. Gratitude, when sincere, doesn't linger. Later, alone, I counted the money the son had given me and placed it back on the counter with a note that said only for groceries. The amount wasn't the point. The boundary was, there was no celebration, no speeches, just alignment. Conditional kindness had shown its terms, and quiet integrity had kept its shape. Some relationships had shifted into a new grammar, others would need time, or might never translate. I stepped outside as the porch light clicked off in the daylight, unnecessary now. The air felt neutral, which was enough. I walked away with my dignity intact, not because anyone had granted it, but because I had stopped asking for it at the wrong doors.